Hello and welcome. Thanks for joining me. If this is your first time to my channel, I hope you consider subscribing. And don't forget to click on that bell button so you can be notified every time I upload a new video. And if you enjoy this tutorial, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up and share with friends and family. So for today's tutorial, what we're going to do are two different DIYs for Christmas. First, you're going to go ahead and just gather some branches from your backyard or park or somewhere, and then give them a light coat of white spray paint, and try to get a few branches, more than what you would think you need, just in case you want to break some off and add some or what have you. Once your branches are completely dry, go ahead and get some glue. I'm using Mod Podge, and then your glitter that I purchased at Walmart. It's a fine white glitter. And what I'm doing is basically just brushing on some Mod Podge to my branches, and then just sprinkling the glitter over wherever I brush the Mod Podge. Now, this is optional. You don't have to do this. This is just my style, that I wanted to add a little bit of kind of like fake snow, I guess you could say. I just wanted to add a little bit more to my branches. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but it's not a lot. Just, you know, here and there, kind of a little bit of glitter throughout. So once you're done adding all the glitter to your branches, just go ahead and set them aside and allow it to dry. Now make sure that you do both sides of the branches, because at first I had just done one side, and then I thought, well, if you see the back, you're not going to see any glitter whatsoever. So go ahead and make sure you do add a little bit of the glitter to the back of your branches as well. You guys let me know in the comments down below. Would you spray paint them white and add glitter, or would you leave them the natural branch wood color? Because I've seen them both ways. So once you're done and you allow that to set them aside to dry, go ahead and get some kind of container or a vase. I'm using this plastic clear vase from Dollar Tree. And as you can see, you'll see Luna back there kind of wondering what I'm doing. So just go ahead and get some foam. I just have one of these round disc foams, and I'm just kind of cutting it in little pieces, big enough for it to fit inside my vase, and kind of stacking them and adding hot glue to make them secure to my vase. And just go ahead and glue each one of the foams together to attach them. And you can add as many or as much as you think you need for your branches. I just added about 3 or 4 pieces to stack together. Now what I'm going to do is basically get some painter's tape, or use what I'm using, which is electrical tape. That's what I had on hand. And I'm going 3 inches from the bottom and adding the strip of tape around the entire vase. Another idea is you can spray paint the entire vase. I just wanted it to look clear from the top. That was just something I wanted it to look like. So just go ahead, and once you've wrapped your tape around, I'm using the silver metallic paint from Walmart, and I'll leave the exact color and a brand down below. And go ahead and just brush the bottom from the tape down the color of your choice. I kind of wanted to stay in my silver and white tones for this entire project. That way the red would stand out. So just continue to add your paint, and just a thin coat of whatever color you're going to use. You don't need that much of the paint, because this is pretty good thick paint. So just a little bit goes a long way. So just go ahead and continue painting the entire container, just around from the tape below. Another thing I was thinking of doing is might even paint this bottom part red. But you guys let me know down below what color you'll paint your bases, or if you'll paint them at all. Using the same glitter, when the paint is still wet, go ahead and sprinkle a complete coat on top of your paint. And I added glitter throughout my entire vase. I was inspired by some of these branch Christmas trees that I saw at one of my department stores here in my area, and they were $150. I thought, oh my goodness, I can do these for, you know, a few dollars. So go ahead and allow these to dry. And once they're completely dry, and make sure they're completely dry, go ahead and remove whatever tape you used from the top. And now all you're going to do is start inserting your branches. Now, I added some hot glue to the bottom of my branch just to give it an extra support for it to stay in place. And as you can tell, I'm adding more than just one branch to each one of my vases. Again, that's an option that you can do, or you can just use one branch. I just wanted it to look more fuller, I guess you could say. So I went ahead and added about 2 to 3 in each one of my vases. So once you're happy with the amount of branches you've added to your vase, what I used are some of these red birds from Dollar Tree that you can get 2 of them in a package. And just add them to your branches wherever you like. So I'm adding one to what would be the back of branch of my tree. And these birds have a wire in the bottom. So basically you just add it wherever you want and just twist it like a twist tie to your branches. And if you don't feel comfortable with that, you can certainly add some glue to your bottom birds. Another thing that I was thinking of doing once I was completely done with my trees was maybe add some wired fairy lights. You guys let me know in the comments down below, should I add lights or just leave it as is? And I'm adding 2 to this one, and then my other vase I just added 1. So once you're done with that, I got some berries, and first I had thought maybe adding some of the gold berries, but I ended up adding some of the red ones instead. And you just add them wherever you like. And I used one of the stems of berries for both projects. So in other words, I used one stem for both of my trees and my wreath that I'm making. But of course, you can add as many or as little as you like of berries. Another idea is you might want to add just some small little mini bows. It would look really pretty of the color that you're using throughout your home. So once you're happy with the amount of berries that you've added to your tree, you're done. And as you can tell, I'm adding basically 2 berries together. And then some of them I'm just going to add 1 berry in each area. Another question is, what would you use? Berries, none, or maybe some bows? Or let me know in the comments down below what other ideas you think you can add to this tree. So our second DIY, what we're going to do is basically, what you're going to use are a bag of these scented pine cones that you can spray paint the color of your choice. I'm spray painting them white, and then I'm using one of these round wooden, this round wreath that I got at Dollar Tree as well, and I spray painted that white. Once they're completely dry, just go ahead and start adding your cones to your wreath. Now what I did was basically add 5 wreaths and 5 cones in a row, kind of just to give you an idea of the width and the length that I want my cones to be in, and like what area, which I wanted them to be all in the bottom, but I wanted to make sure I made it long enough and wide enough. So just go ahead and start adding the rest of your cones to that area. Now what I typically do for something like this is Basically, I kind of just add my cones by size. In other words, I use the bigger size or the ones that are more open first. And then I go from there using the medium size ones, and then using the smallest ones as kind of a filler to add in between the spaces of the rest of the cones. And that's just an easier way for me to make sure that there's not more of one size on one part of my wreath or area than another. You guys let me know in the comments down below. Will you use this with the natural colors, or would you spray paint it a different color besides white? I'm curious to know, because I know at Dollar Tree there's a lot of different color birds, from white to red like I'm using. There's blue and green. I mean, there's just tons of colors, and they're all very pretty. You know, you can make a wreath like this with any of those birds for any holiday, really. It doesn't necessarily have to be for Christmas. I can see making one for Easter and spray painting these cones pink or something like that. So you know, keep that in mind, especially with these kind of items that you get at Dollar Tree for certain holidays. I tend to kind of think outside the box and think, you know, I can use it for another holiday. So I try to, you know, stock up with at least an extra bag or two just for those holidays, to make DIYs for, you know, whatever other season or holiday that I want to use those items for. So once you've you've done with adding your cones to your wreath, just go ahead and set it aside so it can completely dry. Now what I'm using is some of this leftover white mesh that I had, and I simply cut about 3 to 4 pieces about 3 inches wide, and then what I did was roll them and squeeze them in my hands just to keep them from unraveling, and just go ahead and roll all the pieces of mesh up. I got about 4 to 5 pieces from the leftover mesh that I had. Now I'm going to make a bow with this red velvet ribbon that I had purchased at one of my local thrift stores. I know they do have some of these kind of bows pre-made at Dollar Tree, so you can just go ahead and purchase some pre-made if you like. And just get any kind of rope or string that you think can match your decor, or that you can use to start tying your bow together. Now when I use a rope instead of glue to make my bows, I always tie the rope to whatever is going to be the smallest bow, or the center bow of the center ribbon of my bow. So the smallest one you make, that's the one that you start with to add your ribbon. At least this is the way I do it. So basically I start my bow from top to bottom. Now I'm using some of this silver ribbon that you can get at Dollar Tree to make my second bow. Now this is the one that I'm leaving longer tails. And these will be the tails for my bow. And then each bow that you make for your larger bow, I guess you could say, go ahead and just start tying them to the smaller bow the way you like. And I simply just make one knot to each one that I start adding on to. Now go ahead and get your mesh. And then the way I do my mesh is kind of roll it if it's not rolled as tight as I like. And then basically I make little X's or like a star shape to make my bows. Now figure out where your center is at, and then just go ahead and wrap whatever string you're using to tie all your bows together. And just make sure you pull it tight, nice and tight, and go ahead and give it a few knots. And don't cut the leftover ribbon, because that's the same ribbon you'll be using to tie it to your wreath. And here's where you can go ahead and start fluffing up your bow. And don't forget to cut the ends of your ribbon, whatever tails you're going to have on your bow, to make sure it stays nice and clean. Now I had one of these leftover red cardinal birds, and what I'm going to do is add it to the bottom of my wreath, and I just simply twist tied it to my wreath. Again, you can add some hot glue or E6000 to your bird if you like, if you don't feel comfortable with it staying just with the wiring that it comes with. And I had some more of these leftover berries from the trees that I made, so I went ahead and used them on my wreath. And what I did was basically cut each berry or each round little ball individually, and just hot glued them all throughout my cone area where the cones are at. Now you can use this kind of wreath for any holiday, really. It's something that I like to do, is like, for instance, these pine cones, since they're the cinnamon scented, I'm pretty sure they're only going to be here for the Christmas time. So what I'm doing is basically going to go out and look for a few more bags and save them, so I can use them for other holidays and for other projects. Because these are the kind of items that you can use for so many different seasons. So just add as many berries as you'd like. I'm just kind of working with it, and I add a few, then I look at it and I add a few more until I'm happy, or until I'm done with all the berries, whichever one comes first. And there you have it. And just go ahead and add your bow wherever you like. I'm adding it to the side. Since my bird is on one side, I'm adding my bow to the opposite side. And again, using the same ribbon, I'm just going to go ahead and tie it a few times in the back of my wreath. And then, since I had an extra long piece of the rope, I'm going to just wrap it around some of the twigs of my wreath, just to make sure it's nice and secure. And don't forget to just go ahead and use your blow dryer to add any of the strings of glue that might be on your project. Make sure you go ahead and remove any strings or anything that you don't like on your bow or your project. Once I was done, I really didn't like the white string that I used for my bow, so I just cut a little piece of the glitter ribbon and added it to the center of my red bow. And there you have it. So what do you guys think? In order to hang it, you can use a wire or maybe some jute twine or anything you'd like. What I'm using is basically some of the red ribbon that I use for my bow, making sure I'm gluing it to the center of the back of my wreath. So which project was your favorite, or do you have a favorite, or do you like both? And again, don't forget to let me know in the comments down below, should I add lights to this tree or leave it as is? And here's my wreath. I hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time, you guys stay blessed. Bye.